Questions?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Doctor, at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, the CDC tests for COVID were not accurate. What role did the FDA play in the approval of these faulty tests?
Well, the test itself, the design of the test was fine, and so we authorized that test. But, from our review, there was an issue around the manufacturer. We believe that there may have been contamination that occurred in later batches of the test that was produced.
And will you provide this committee with the FDA's after-action analysis and report on the various causes, whether it was manufacturer or otherwise, of this significant failure?
I'm happy to provide you what information we can. We did not have an official report coming from the agency, but I did have the director of our in vitro diagnostics office we had sent over to the CDC to facilitate looking into this matter. He has many years' history of developing tests, both in laboratory and at commercial manufacturers. And
if you could share that with us, I would appreciate it.
Happy to.
Switching gears a little bit, how many emergency use authorizations were granted in the last 2 years vis-a-vis the 2 years prior to that? I don't expect you to have that answer here today, but could you provide that to the committee as well?
Yes. I think if you're talking about all medical devices, I think we're somewhere over 870 EUAs granted.
During the last 2 years?
In the last 2 years.
Okay. If we could just get that
We'll
comparison of pre-COVID and post-COVID, what the use of that was. Yes. All right. Digital health is an important component of MDUFA and the MDUFA commitment letter. I'm glad the agency will put such a strong focus on this important area. But I wonder whether device, drug, and biologic centers will operate in silos, which could hurt digital health innovation because of inconsistent regulations. What specific actions will the agency take to ensure that this does not occur?
One of the steps we took is to create a digital health center of excellence out of the Center for Devices, which serves as also a resource and a convener for the rest of the agency. And we have already an intra-agency group that serves to advise the center and to facilitate coordination between the different parts of the agency on cross-cutting matters relevant on some of these aspects for digital health.
All right, I appreciate that. It's also a little bit different, but in the same area. It's come to my attention that a significant challenge associated with incorporating digital technologies in healthcare is distinguishing between a medical device, which requires FDA approval, and a consumer product, which falls under the FTC's jurisdiction. Do you agree that there should be more cooperation between these two agencies as we determine how best to regulate devices that can be helpful in our healthcare?
Well, we do have a good working relationship with them, and there have been a number of cases with just with products more generally, where there's been an issue on, which side of the line it sort of falls, and we've coordinated with them, such as on cribs, risk of strangulation on cribs, and we'll continue to do so because that's an important relationship. I do think the committee was very helpful in 21st Century Cures, for example, on clarifying certain circumstances where the software is not a medical device and so falls on the other line, and that clarity then helps, for these jurisdictional issues.
I appreciate that. The MDUFA commitment letter also describes several activities FDA plans to undertake to support better harmonization among medical technology regulators across the globe. What international harmonization efforts are currently underway?
Right now, this is all through the International Medical Device Regulators Forum, and there is a particular focus right now on harmonization pertaining to artificial intelligence, a biggest focus on machine learning.
And how do you see this work evolving in the future, specifically referencing artificial intelligence and the support of that in decision-making and in clinical work?
It's becoming increasingly more important in the work that we do. We've already authorized, over 300 devices with AI/ML capabilities, just 50, I think, in the last year. So we have a whole action plan that goes through a number of steps we're taking to sort of facilitate the development of AI technologies and to assure they're safe and effective.
And one of the things we have to work on as we work on AI is to make sure that we're using that and helping to bring down healthcare costs, because there are a lot of things, if it's not something serious, that we could actually use AI as opposed to actually using one of our healthcare providers who on site. So if you combine AI and telemedicine, we could do an awful lot to bring down costs and bring service to people who may not otherwise have access to the medical care that they deserve.
No, we agree. I'll say one of the challenges we face is that, the device frameworks that are in place, they're about 45 years old. So they were really designed for literally my grandmother's technology. It's hardware-based, and we're talking about software. And it's just not lined up, with the innovation cycles that you see. And I'd personally say, wish I had the flexibility that we have in COVID on tailoring the pathway to the technology in the least burdensome way, and have that ability to do it in peacetime. Not change the U.S. standard of market, but have the flexibility and offer it voluntarily. And then you pick the traditional route, pick the new route, and if we don't do that in this software area, like Agile with artificial intelligence, we're going to kill important technology that will make a big difference to patients. That I do worry about.
Let us know what we can do on that. I yield back, Madam Chair.
Gentleman yields back.